Sharon, you are such a blessing. Thank you, thank you, thank you for saying yes to hanging out with me and being one of my hot people for January. And thank you for walking with me this year. You know, like it's been such an entertaining journey. So, all of those who are new to you, don't know who you are, or half of them don't know who I am yet either, but we're going to work on that. But tell them, how on earth, who are you? What do you get up to? And how did we meet?
So my name's Sharon, and I'm currently living in Auckland, New Zealand. And we met online, Sally and I. And funnily enough, we found this crazy man called Pedro, probably in the same place of the Facebook world, and stumbled into what is called a family room there in 100X. And the Lord just, the Sally chick can't get out of my thoughts, can't seem to not hear her voice. That was it, highlighted. That's how I met Sal. So there's a lot of conversation going on in my head, but there wasn't a lot of coming out of my mouth. We were just kind of processing what is going on, why, what, when, how. And so that's how I met Sal. She pursued me, which I feel very grateful for, because that's what God does. He chases you down, right? He chases you down. Sal pretty much just reached out to me and said, "Oh, look, I'm looking for an accountability partner. We seem to be Kiwis. Let's do this like Kiwi United Front." And I thought, okay. I was kind of intrigued because I wanted to know where it led. But then a whole lot of me was resistant. And for me, that's a good indicator to pursue, because obviously if I'm trying to run away from it, God's saying go toward it. So he was saying go towards South. And when I came into 100X, I think I was just, without even knowing, having a crisis, a midlife crisis. I'm like 42. I didn't know what kind of midlife crisis I was in. And I had been praying to the Lord for a long time for someone like Pedro, a mentor, and really based around kingdom principles. And what does that look like? Because everything around me doesn't look like what my Bible tells me it should look like. And so I met a crazy man named Pedro online. And then I met, I was looking for answers to questions I didn't even know I had. And God gave me Sal. And here we are today.
I am just about peeing my pants listening to you share the story. But it is, we've ended up with these crazy people. And you know what? We're part of the people. But
right. I fit in.
Yeah.
Without fitting in. I stand out without fitting in. Yeah.
No, what I love about this is we fit together, not fit in. See? Fit together.
That's it.
And what people don't probably realize as well, in what we kind of, how this started was just the two of us. And then we found more Kiwis that were on the 100X journey with Pedro. And we've ended up with I think about 6 to 8 of us that catch up every week and do what we need to do in terms of just being accountable or whatever it is that we're doing in that season.
Exactly.
And so kind of that's where we started. But then I think something else happened. What else happened? Because you've actually ended up, we both hang out with 100X and with Pedro and with what we're doing there. But I also have a sense that we've kind of ended up hanging out a bit more than just accountability.
Well, yeah, it's good that you mentioned that, because it reboots kind of the journey. And what I found with Sal was like, I just had to let the Lord, lead me. And basically it was just partner with Sally. And I didn't know what that meant. I just knew I had to say yes. And like, it was a fight. So where the Bible says that your carnal nature is enmity with your spirit and vice versa, that's where I was. And I didn't mind being uncomfortable, but I wanted to know how to be an overcomer in it. And so as we walked this 100X path, things were coming up in me like, I'm not teachable. I don't really like feedback. I actually don't want to listen to what you say. So all these truths about where I was coming to light. And but I knew, I still knew, like, even though everything about me was telling me to run, get out of there, you've wasted your time, you've wasted your money, these people don't know what they're talking about. Actually, in me, knew I was exactly where I needed to be. It didn't matter what it looked like on the outside. And that really, it really segued me into learning about Sal and what she does. So what you introduced to me was this inspiring perspective. And, you're a crazy woman talking nonsense to me in the beginning, right? Because denial looks like that. It looks like everyone else is crazy and you're not. And I don't mind being called crazy, but crazy for the Lord is probably more where I want to be. And what obeying God looks like and following Sal meant, I got to look into actually what are the root causes to these things. So I didn't realize there was such thing as an orphan spirit, and Pedro had planted in me enough, not that I understood, for Sally to kind of carry me through the rest of my journey and come to know, actually, I know what my values are. I've come to the knowledge of my values. I have them, and I recognize I actually don't value myself. And Sal, through this intentional you course that she introduced, I think August somewhere. I can't really recall, but July, August, because there was a lot of things going on. We spent 8 weeks together, and I don't know, the resistance vibe was wearing down, and I was just like, okay, I'm going to attach myself fully now. I get where I'm going. I'm seeing a lot better. And through coming to the knowledge of my value, I then recognized I need to also know my identity. And the whole crisis was around my identity. But I didn't know that as a 42-year-old woman, raised 6 kids, running business. I didn't know. I just didn't know that things were actually out of order. And so God put me in the right mind, in the right space, in the right heart to see it for what it is, and then start working it out. Walking out my salvation is what the Bible referred to it as. And that through that, we're on this like journey now where I'm really honing in into my purpose. Like, why am I here? Who am I going to help? How do I become the person that I need to be to actually do that? Because it's not like I'm just going to show up and everybody's going to love me. There's a lot of work to do in me, evidently, that God obviously knew about. And that's why we've crossed paths and we've continued our journey, making sure that I finish strong as strong as she does, because there's an impartation that comes with hanging out with Sal. And so, yeah, the way Sally prophesies and believes in you, you need that. I needed that. I needed that until I believed it, right? I needed all of what Sally told me, even though I was resistant. I needed all of what she was giving me until I had it, until I could actually start, oh yeah, actually, I am living my best life. I totally get what she says now, why she's always smiling, why she's always like going, go, go, go. Like she really has got the zeal and love and adoration for the Lord that it's almost it's actually unstoppable. I mean, I tried, but that's the Holy Spirit for you, that battering ram of revelation. And then when she like prophesies about what God calls her, she's a firecracker. Yeah, she really lights something up to get you going, So you don't stay where you are. When you walk with Sal, where you start is not the same place as where you end up, and you're nothing but grateful for it, but you're also equipped. Like, you don't have to lean on Sally to be able to continue in that. You're now equipped to do that. So you don't become dependent on her, but there's something like this interdependence, like a synergy, right? And I don't know. I think synergy is the best word because my vocab is pretty needs work. But she does. She creates this synergy, and it's like, for me, if I equate it to a story in the Bible, it's like when Mary walked to her cousin, and then John kicked. is brought back to life.
Oh my goodness, that's gold. I should be paying you for those comments. That is absolute crack up. But it's been really funny. I've interviewed a few people, and I don't know where you're going to sit in the January kind of rollout, as it were. But I've realized that a lot of people, my energy, whatever that is, we know that it's the Holy Spirit, but people need energy. They need that. Sometimes we need to be shifted from where we were to where we want to be. And you're absolutely right. I am totally not the answer. I am the firecracker that gets people going. And it was interesting that you made the comment that you were kind of having a breakdown, but didn't realize you were having a breakdown. Those are the people that I look after, because it's people who, for whatever reason, and as you say, you run 3 successful businesses, you've got 6 kids, you've got an amazing husband, you've got 2 properties. What's your problem? Like, seriously, you're on fire. And so what I'm seeing is, as these beautiful, stories are unfolding, is we often just have a missing piece of the puzzle. There was just something you were like, come on, this isn't quite right. What is it that I'm missing? And for many, it's our value, our identity, and our purpose. Because so much has happened, or we're serving so many people, or we're looking after the business, and we're looking after the kids, and we're looking after everybody else, that somewhere in the midst of that, we've lost our identity. We're either the wife of somebody, the mum of somebody, or the CEO of whatever, and we've lost it in
We're somebody.
Yeah, we're somebody somewhere. Oh, that reminds me of that, somebody, nobody, anybody could have done whatever that. Anyway, we're not going to go there. But so tell me, Sharon, just for everyone else's benefit, because they don't know our journey, and obviously we hang out every week and we have a laugh and we have some fun, and you speak as much wisdom into me as I speak into you. I love this. I come and I'm here to give, and then you guys give me more back. How the flip does that work? It's like gold, eh? But ultimately, you've ended up coming, you did your 8 weeks, and then you've stayed in the group, which is something that we are going to be sharing at conference, is the intentional accelerated momentum. Because obviously we get firecrackered off, but some people want to continue that momentum. And I just, for the sake of people who maybe haven't hung out in this space, maybe haven't been online, maybe don't know what it's like to have others in a room where you do some coaching, you do some training, and you've got some accountability. What do you get out of hanging out in this I am space?
Me personally, I'm sure everybody's journey is different than my own, but mine is consistency. Consistency means that I can successfully be wife and all those things. So I guess the simple way of putting it is, it's a way to put your life in order, in the correct priority, because I knew I had them, but they were a little bit jumbled up, and there might have been a bit too many. And with starting the intentional you journey, it was a no-brainer to carry on, because something in me, even though I was fighting, like I was just resistant, and I didn't really comprehend a lot. And that's just because of the way I think. I tend to process, and then I get to a place where, I can actually do it. You also identify the things that hinder you. So the thing that was hindering me is it worked against me, how I process information, because then I would process and not action. So there's a delay, and there doesn't need to be a delay, but it took that time of training in the next part of my journey with you to see that for what it was. So I'd done 8 weeks, got all the stuff that I needed, but hadn't cultivated the practice of it, right? It was like I have this one lid and I've got like 6 pots, and I'm like trying to do it all with this one lid, right? But then when I got into my second stage with you, I was like, okay, things that I'm learning kind of go hand in hand with where I am in figuring out how to use my skills and attributes while taking care of my family, while keeping sure that my faith, walk is in check, and leaving the finances for last. So a lot of how I ended up here was finances, and then I don't know. Some days it'll be family, and some days it'll be faith. I got the tools to remind me and have the visual aspect, like when the Bible says to set up a pillar of remembrance. Those were keys for me because they align with the word. For me personally, I can go hand in hand. Okay, I do need to practice that. Okay, I do need to let that in. Okay, God. It hasn't been until the actual final leg of my journey with self that I am being intentionally me. Okay, so I spent 8 weeks with Sally to do that. It's taken 16, taken a bit longer than most people. But I'm there. I'm now practicing it. I'm now journaling. Journaling has been a key to remembering who I am every morning. And it kind of works hand in hand with my spiritual health and well-being, which is a game. If you don't tend to this temple, you can't tend to any other temple around you. It's also it reminds me of what my priorities are, and it keeps me in check. So, as an accountant, you've got to have your checks and balances. And because of that, I'm writing down the thoughts that usually cloud me, overwhelm me, put me off course, so I can pour out in the morning anything that, I might be thinking of to actually clear me up to then start working on the 3 priorities that I've already planned the night before. So the journey I'm on now is actually doing it before 8 o'clock in the morning. With the last 10 days, there's no excuse. I fell off the wagon, and I've been struggling to get it done before 8 o'clock in the morning and at least 9 o'clock at night. I'm getting my journaling done for tracking my progress of each day. I think I'm starting at about midnight when everybody's in bed, and I'm up to like 2 o'clock in the morning because so much has happened that day. And for me, it's also a way to create something of my life journey and capture it for my kids, so that when they grow old and ugly, right, they have something to reflect on of who I was then, as opposed to when they see me in a coffin.
Gee, I hope they're going to take more notice of you before you get that far, just quietly.
Wow, you never know, but I want to make a conscious effort to do that. And it's just based on things that have happened. And it just seems like don't leave anything unfinished, right? And anything that is unfinished wasn't for me anyway. It is to pass the baton.
Wow, 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 wow. I love all of your wisdom and all of your insight. And I think that's, what's so beautiful is that you have found who you are, that you are settled in who you are, and that you are now, as you say, you're now in a stage where you're looking to pass that on. You're looking to share that. You're looking to and I love the fact that you're tracking where you are, because we only live in the present. All of us only remember where we are in the moment. We forget about the past. We forget, and it also can be different. I remember the beautiful quote from The Great Gatsby: "The past is another country. They do things differently there." And the future hasn't happened yet. So we actually only live in the now, but if we don't write down what's in the now, or we don't take a note of what is actually happening in the now, we forget it, and then we don't see our progress. We don't see the change. We don't see how amazing we've become. And I'm so excited that you've grasped that and you're holding on to it and you're writing the things down, because then you start to see the gold. Then you start to see the change. Then we start to build our confidence and we really become who we are. Yay. So, Sharon, anything that you want to share? Obviously, this is going to be one of the days in January. Not sure which day yet. And you're going to go out and share. So that's going to be super cool. And then you're going to come to conference, I know, and be part of what we're doing in February. In fact, I think you're even going to be on our panel. So that will be super exciting for people to be able to ask you some questions, or for you to be able to share. What would you say to people who were where you were? Because you've talked a lot about resistance. You've talked a lot about, you knew there was more, you knew there was something missing, and you were blessed because in some respects you met me and so God said, actually, you need to hang out with her. But whether it's me or somebody else, what would you say to someone who was sitting where you were, if they had the opportunity of doing something like this, doing intentional you, being able to have somebody walk alongside them and hold their hand, and to have a group of people, what would you say to them?
I guess now that I understand how I got here, I come to a point in my life where I didn't know who I was. I had heaps of purpose, but I didn't know who I was. So if you're in a place where your shoulders have carried more than they should, and you begin to lose who you are in the process of serving, you're actually doing a disservice not only to yourself, but those around you. And once you come to the realization that that's where you are at your life, you want to seek out the best help that you can find. And that's likely going to mean it's going to cost you financially. For me, that was a huge struggle because I'm so much in debt. I'm in debt. I mean, I got more in debt just so I can participate, right? But I think the payoff and the debt that I've created here is not the same debt that I created before, right? I went and I was sown into my flesh. This round, I'm sowing into my soul so that my soul will prosper. And when our soul prospers, we will prosper, right? Because you're not operating from a place of being wounded or hurt or resentful or judgmental. There's such a clarity and peace that comes when you come to that pit, because you're not up here, you're down there. Where you don't want to be there anymore. So when you feel like you're in a pit, it is. It's just time to seek the help that you need, because you could try and get out of that pit by yourself, but it's so much faster and quicker and easier when you have the right people with you to not only lift you out, but build you up and equip you to send you further down the righteous path of righteousness, where God actually wants you, and advance that kingdom that he says you are a citizen of. I mean, that's where it's at for me. I am a woman of faith in the Son of God, and I'm not ashamed to say that or share that. And that's why Sally and I met in the instance, because I mean, we're in the same country, and if it wasn't for 100X, I doubt we'd ever have met. But God, and who he is, and the way he does things, I had the honor to literally bump into her in a virtual family room. So yeah, you could, like, there could be things like you feel left out, you feel alone, you feel lonely, or you might even think you do everything by yourself. And on a on a natural sense, you might do, but you might also have been the one who put yourself in that position anyway, you know. Because I say that because my love language is acts of service, but then when you're doing it with complaining and stuff like that, or you're complacent about it, it's no longer an act of love. And those are kind of the things that got me in my pit. But you know, God always turns up in times of trouble, even when you're not in trouble, He's there. But yeah, He sent the brigade, and it meant I had to say a lot of yeses to some really uncomfortable decisions that I actually just thought I was repeating from the past. But I took the step anyway because my God is not a liar. Amen. He's not a man that He should lie. And He won't be mocked. And if He won't be mocked, then I won't be mocked. And no matter what I go through, or even if I'm humiliated through the process, I'll still be there at the end, you know, because it's Him. This is not luck. This is a promise. And they're so different, you know. And one, you know, there's a pure source and there's an impure source. There's a righteous source and there's an unrighteous source. And my life journey has about just being connected to the life source, even when it looks like I'm not.
Whew. Well, that's a bit of a powerful end to it all in terms of the fact, and it's so funny because part of February is about really being exposing the truth, exposing the lies for what things are when people feel they're not good enough or they're not valued or they're alone or all of that stuff that doesn't belong, and bringing people back into somewhere where they're honored, where they are respected, where they are valued, where you're chosen, where you belong. And I think for both of us, we've been truly blessed to be part of Pedro's family, to be part of that movement, and now to be able to walk that out in New Zealand and to really get going and take some traction in terms of offering that here on home territory is super cool. So thank you, Sharon, for sharing your heart, for sharing your truth, for sharing your story today. And I hope that that will open hearts and minds for many who may have felt they were where you are and are now looking for the truth and to know who they are and what their value is in this season. So I say thank you, thank you, thank you.